Hey everyone, I'm Katie Daryl, and today we are at home and social for our special Grammy edition of the show with Robin Pecknold of Fleet Foxes. Welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
A two-time Grammy nominated. What?
Yeah.
Excuse me, ma'am, you got that incorrect. Congratulations, really,
Thank you so
congratulations.
much. Thank you so much.
What was the morning phone call like, or was this a deluge of texts coming at you?
Oh, I was actually watching the nominations on YouTube. There was so I saw it same time as everyone else.
And did you get the same feelings and butterflies, emotions as you did the first time Fleet Foxes was nominated, or did it feel different this time?
It was different. I mean, I feel like last time, I think we were on tour when the nominations came through, and so I didn't see it live, and it was for Best Folk Album, and it was cool. It was really cool, but I ended up not making. That was not a. I don't think that was a televised segment. I ended up making the show, and so this felt really different. Like watching the nominations come in, and I was hopeful, but the record came out like last September, kind of at the beginning of the eligibility window.
Right. Yeah, you were on that. Yeah. You were one of those cusp bands, right?
Yeah. So even last year, people were like, "Oh, you got robbed. You didn't get a nomination last year." And I was like, "Well, it actually, it was just outside the window." So
it was just like you and Cardi B. Yeah, I mean, that's what people are constantly comparing you to, and they're like, "Oh, you guys were just outside the window of opportunity for last year."
Yeah.
It's not the first time anyone's been like, Fleet Foxes a lot like Cardi B.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I see it, but I don't hear it a lot from other people. But
it's in your twerking. Everyone says it's in your twerk. All right, so let's talk about this album. Like you said, one of the big differences in the world of talking about Grammys is the first time Fleet Foxes was nominated for a Grammy in 2012. It was for Best Folk Album, and now here we are. You are nominated in the Best Alt Album category.
Yeah.
I mean that. To be able to bridge between those two genres is quite the feat. And was that something that you consciously wanted to make the shift in the move towards?
No, I mean, I think not really. I feel like Helplessness Blues, which is the record that was nominated for Best Folk Album, was like a folkier album in terms of instrumentation and like songwriting approach. So it makes sense that this one, I kind of felt like I thought for sure this album that the nomination, I think I might get Best Folk Album again. Maybe that if it was going to get nominated, maybe that's where it would land, and especially because there hasn't been a tour, and all of this stuff with the music business has been like on Zoom, and like we've just been at home for for some of us, and it's kind of like I don't know what's going to happen. It's just there's just so hard to tell.
Yeah.
But I think alternative, this category, it's a very broad category. Alternative fits in a lot of different styles and different, types of artists, and the artists that are nominated are amazing, and it's very exciting to be in that company, and I'm very honored to be in that company this year, for sure.
Well, this album was recorded in multiple locations spanning from 2018 through 2020. I think you did some time in New York, in Los Angeles, in Paris, Long Island, right?
Yeah. Upstate New York. Yeah.
So doing it in all these different locations, and you had different key players involved. And obviously the thing that we have to talk about, the elephant in the room, is none of the core Fleet Fox members are on the recording of this album. I was talking to a friend who is a fan of you guys. So a legit fan. Yes. It's like phone a friend. And when I was talking to him about this nomination and that I was going to be speaking with you, it was almost like having a conversation with someone that's talking about, oh, mom and dad were fighting last night. I don't know. It was weird. It was awkward.
Yeah.
Is there tension in the band now with a nomination? Is there a different type? What is the vibe of Fleet Foxes right now?
It's good. I mean, we talk all the time. I think the thing with finishing Shore in that way was really just a circumstance of the pandemic and how long I'd already been working on it. Typically with these things, the way that it's worked out the best is like I get a bunch of songs together. The more I have prepared in advance, the better, so that there's not a lot of like banging your head against the wall in a room full of like 5 people, and then fleshing stuff out with bringing other musicians in and playing to people's strengths on the recording side. That is kind of like how it's ended up working out the best over the years, and so I think like just getting that record done, and there were already tons of contributors to it by the time the pandemic hit, but getting that record done and out just felt like just spiritually the best thing to do, given the circumstances, because it seemed like in 2020 the album seemed like very unimportant, Yeah. And just in terms of like, okay, I just need to get this done and get it out there and share the music, but it's not the most important thing happening in the world right now. There are other things to be thinking about. And so things are good. I mean, I had dinner with my friend Sky, bandmate Sky, last night, and talking about stuff to do next year. And
for those of you just tuning in, I'm Katie Daryl, and this is At Home and Social, our Grammy edition. I'm speaking with Robin Pecknold of Fleet Foxes. This is the band's second nomination, first in 2012, and now for this 64th annual Grammy nomination. I believe it's going to be first time a big event being held at the Crypto.com arena. Yeah. It's no longer Staples Center.
The Crypt.
Are you into crypto?
I am not into crypto. I'm not in crypto. I have no crypto exposure, but I do like the name The Crypt.
It is.
I think
so
great.
The album is titled Shore, the one that's nominated for Best Alternative Album, and you did record it in several locations, but I want to talk about the instruments. I'm so psyched that when you were in LA, you were working at a studio that had some pretty iconic stuff, including Frank Sinatra's touring drum kit. And what was the instrument from Pet Sounds?
The vibraphone from Pet Sounds. Yeah, which we used on a couple songs, on Going to the Sun Road and one other song. But yeah,
is that one of those things where you walk into the recording studio and they're like, oh, we've got the vibraphone from Pet Sounds, and you're like, pivot, we're using some vibraphone, guys.
Yeah, I think there was a day where I tried to put it on everything just to have it. We didn't end up using it on much of it, but yeah, that was definitely like, cool, we just got to get this on everything now. And then I think this was one of the last big projects that was in that studio, because then the pandemic hit. And then the studio actually closed and was, some of the gear was moved.
Yeah, I heard that you left your guitars. You basically like hit the road and ran.
Oh yeah, I had all kinds of gear stuck in that studio for 6 or 8 months. Yeah.
That's a real bummer, man.
I know.
Yeah. All right. So this album, I know when you were writing it, again, you started writing it 2018 through 2020. You were trying to get some vibes and inspiration. So you were listening to Nina Simone a lot, Van Morrison, Sam Cooke. Who am I missing? What other influences will people be able to smell and taste on this album?
I was trying to, I really love like Brazilian music and Tropicalia, Bossa Nova. I was trying to evoke that feeling without maybe using some of those chords, or just the kind of nostalgic, kind of wanderlust feeling of that music, the kind of sweetly sad feeling of it, without maybe referencing it directly in what the chords were, or what the instrumentation was doing. I wanted to just evoke that feeling without pulling directly from those sources. That's one thing I think about sometimes, is how to make something feel a certain way without exactly copying the thing that you want it to feel like. And one of my favorite Brazilian artists is Tim Bernardes, and he ended up singing on this record, contributing really beautiful melodies and lyrics in Portuguese, which was exciting for me, for sure.
During pandemic, you performed Shore along with some other songs in a very beautiful and unique setting. The St. Anne Church recordings, which I think just recently got released. There's digital versions. I think the vinyl is going to be available 2022. But this film, I mean, it has to be called a film. This isn't just a live stream. There's a mood. There's talk about the process of putting this together, especially because we were in the middle of the pandemic at this point.
Yeah, that was the middle of the pandemic. And I think it was one of those things where it was we have all these limitations, who can be involved, where we can film it, uh, all of this stuff. And I was really about trying to make those constraints or those weaknesses into like
Mhm.
into features or things to lean into, I guess,
Yeah.
and kind of, it was a lonely time, and it just kind of had to. I didn't want to do something that was kind of like ignoring those circumstances or something. I wanted to feel appropriate to the time it was made. And so, it ended up just having to be me, and this beautiful choir came in, but we needed a very big space for the choir to be in. So we found this church to rent in Brooklyn, and it was beautiful, beautiful space. And, that was a time when a lot of beautiful spaces here were available,
Yeah,
and open.
right.
Yeah, I mean, people were finding creative ways to use these beautiful spaces, and so it was a fun
Live
that.
from JFK Airport. Fleet
Yeah,
Foxes.
totally. That would have been cool, actually.
I know, right? Now I'm like, ooh, hold on.
Totally.
Dibs, my idea, dibs.
Okay.
Next pandemic, I totally get JFK.
Perfect. Okay. I'll take LaGuardia. And
You would. The acoustics, though, the acoustics in this church. I mean, obviously, these ceilings are just
yeah,
epic and so huge. And you can see when you're watching your performance, you're like 2.5 feet away from the microphone.
yeah, totally. Yeah, we had mics set up all around the space, and so it was all natural reverb. And my brother directed the film remotely via Zoom, and it was a pretty intense day, but it came out very kind of. I'm proud that it reflects that time well, and it kind of suits like a deep winter kind of reflective
Yeah.
solitude. As exciting as that sounds. Yeah.
Sometimes putting energy and effort into big projects like that, it's very emotional. It's very draining. And at the end, there's some people that like to finish up something like that, and it's like, let's go do some shots. Let's raise the roof, as a phrase
Mhm.
that you probably use quite often. Uh,
Yeah.
or other people, it's draining and it ends in tears and just I need to
Mhm.
be alone. How did you leave that experience?
Well, that's funny. I mean, that was, man. I mean, because we ended at like 3 in the morning, and I had to, and it was quite a difficult day because of COVID protocols and trying to get all the songs recorded in time, and we went way over time. And then I was like, I live on like the sixth floor of a walk-up building, and so I was like loading. I got a cab back to my apartment, and I was loading um, all of my guitars and an amp, and like just at way late at night. And I was like, why am I doing this? Like, this is just. It was just. Um, it was kind of I remember like the loadout at the end of that day being like a little bit sad. And I didn't know how it came out because it hadn't been finished yet. And so I had the thought that it was like this big disaster or something. And then I was loading all this gear by myself, and I was like, man, this is a dark time. But it ended up coming together great, and so I was totally wrong. Um, and it came out wonderful, and it was worth all of the flights of stairs walking up and down. And so I didn't do any shots, but to your question, that's what happened. Yeah.
You've been said, let me quote you. We don't need music to live, but I couldn't imagine life without it. When
Yeah.
did you come to that? When did you really dig your teeth into that feeling and that emotion?
Um, I mean, there are times when I feel like music is more real than reality is, and I just am seeing the world, everything through this musical lens, or this, you know, um, and it's the same way that, like, if there's a language that doesn't have a word for something, it's almost like, does that idea exist in that language? Um, and I feel like an artist like Nina Simone, or it's like that creates that music existing, and that feeling being evoked kind of creates your what you see reality is potentially feeling like, or it makes changes the way you feel about the world, in the same way that language does. So I think, so yeah, it's very important to me, and it is a huge aspect of how I have always like seen the world, and how I've felt the best in the world, and for sure.
You take the red pill. the blue pill or the
Yeah,
music.
totally.
Thank you. Please
Yeah.
and thank you.
Yeah.
For those of you just tuning in, I'm Katie Daryl, and we are at home and social with Robin Pecknold of the Fleet Foxes. Second Grammy nomination. The first one is in 2012. The latest album that is under consideration or nominated is called Shore. You have been called, or Fleet Foxes has been called, folk, pop, and rock, right? Oh, great. The trifecta. Okay. Way to
Yes.
describe the band. I play a game with my son at night, where we play 1, 2, 3, and we talk about things like, oh, do you like
Yeah.
Pluto, Saturn, or Neptune, right?
Right.
So if we did 1, 2, 3 with pop, rock, and folk, not asking you to describe Fleet Foxes, just asking what you like to listen to. You wake up, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm just going to hit a playlist. 1, 2, 3, which do you want to do? Pop, rock, or folk?
Folk. Every time. Yeah. For sure. Every time.
Other great bands are nominated in this exact same category. Let's take a moment. And which one? You said you were watching the nominations live on YouTube. When the name dropped of one of these bands, were you just like, of course, told you so? So which one was the most obvious? I told you so. I knew this one was going to get nominated. Japanese Breakfast. Oh, you go.
Japanese Breakfast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Loved that album. I loved her book. She talks a lot in the book about growing up in Oregon, and I'm from Washington, so I felt like, a kinship there, and all of her success this past couple of years, and last few years has been super inspiring and cool to see. And I'm really I'm rooting for Japanese Breakfast at the Grammys. But
If I don't root for myself, I shall root for them.
yeah,
Also nominated
but
in the category Arlo Park, St. Vincent, and Halsey.
yeah, amazing. It's just
Pretty
such a
good
great,
company.
yeah, so honored to be in that company for sure.
Robin, what are you gonna wear?
Oh, I know. I feel like I need to, like, I don't even, either like I often wear, this is gonna sound stupid, but I wear Birkenstocks a lot. I was curious if I could get some like dress Birkenstocks or something if I want to just be a total dork.
Satin Birkenstock collection coming this spring.
Yeah. So, yep. But
Oh my goodness.
we'll see.
You've got some. There's some great musicians that are fans of Fleet Foxes. Kanye West, Post Malone. Weren't you spotted in the studio with those guys?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I know Post Malone is really, he's been super sweet.
He's very vocal.
Yeah, he's been super sweet about being a fan. I don't know that Kanye has, but I think maybe Post played it for him. But I think yeah, Post has been a huge like supporter, and it's very sweet of him, and I think he's like an amazing singer, and like really rewrote the rules on pop music structurally, and like how choruses are made, and like their whole thing is really interesting. And it's not like we don't like hang out all the time or something, but he's very nice, and I'm like lucky to lucky for that.
In this era of musicians collaborating and working together, has there ever been a discussion that, hey, we should lay some stuff down together? Has it come up?
I don't know. I mean, I think that would be really cool. I would be down.
Put it out there now, universe. Okay. Hello.
Okay.
You heard it here first on At Home and Social on AXS TV. Fleet Foxes and Post Malone coming to your ear holes, maybe 2023.
Confirmed. Yes.
Oh, what are you into right now besides music? Are you binging a show? Are you reading a book? Are you learning to tango?
I've been into, like a month ago, I started going to like this bouldering gym. So I've been getting into rock climbing a little bit, which has been super fun. And I'm really into that, and I'm going to go do that after this is over.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on Fleet Fox's second Grammy nomination. It's the 64th annual Grammys coming to your TVs. Everyone, make sure you tune in. See if Fleet Foxes takes home a statue, a blunt object, a weapon of mass destruction for music lovers everywhere. Thank you so much for your time, Robin.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hey there, thanks for watching AXS TV. Subscribe, follow, like, and do all the good stuff. And make sure you leave a comment below. I don't know, just let us know what your favorite AXS TV show is, or who your favorite bands are, and what artists you're into, or just say hi, man. I'd like to be told hi. We love hearing from you. That's the point, all right? Keep it coming.